I'm going to go through some of the basic accessories you need for getting started with embroidering on the Husqvarna Viking Designer Brilliance 80. So I've pulled out some of the things that came with the machine, and then we're going to talk through some of the importance of some quality needles, thread, things that I use quite a bit, thread stand, and such. So starting from the beginning, I do want to remind you that your user's guide for this machine is kind of thin, but if you find the online manual, it's like a 200-page manual that has all the steps through the sewing side and the embroidery side. So if you haven't already found that, I'll put a link below this YouTube video of the PDF. Again, if you don't want to print off the whole entire thing, print off just a couple of the pages that you might be working on. So if there's some things you need to kind of focus, you need a page that you can write some notes on, you could print off 5, 6, 7, 8 pages of a certain topic. You don't have to print the whole thing. So just know that there is more information. Of course, we'll be accessing the information that's built into your machine. So that's the second place that you can go to. And then, of course, that gigantic manual that is written for you. Next, speaking of things that are printed, this came with your machine. This is the Sampler Booklet. This is all the embroidery designs that are built into the machine. So some are different techniques, some are just fun designs, and I'm going to tell you the truth. When I look at some of these, I kind of go, they're okay. But I will tell you, once you stitch them out, they will look much better. So just don't judge these designs by the photograph, because this does not look as pretty printed that it does in thread. So a lot of these are the actual size, and it'll say if it was, say, reduced 50% to fit on the page. So for example, these are the sizes that they're built in, knowing you can go up 20% or down 20% with just the features you have in this machine. So very fun, and again, lots of opportunities, lots of techniques, and I hope you'll try out some of the ones that are in here for you. Okay, that's also at your fingertips. Next, we're going to be putting on the Sensor Q foot. This is the best embroidery foot for what it is, but it is kind of spring-loaded. So our next video is going to show you a little trick for getting this on a lot easier than just trying to get it to attach and push, and it's tight. So I have a little trick for you, so make sure you watch that. We are going to switch over to the straight stitch throat plate. This plate comes with your machine, so the ideal place to use it would be for embroidery, but we also use it for free motion quilting, or even just center needle position when you're doing a 1/4 inch seam and you want to keep that needle nice and penetrating straight. As soon as we put this on, the machine will know that we have this on, and because it is sensored. So great way that this actually works. A screwdriver. So for taking your needle in and out, putting your foot on, and then also changing your throat plate when we do that. Let's talk a little bit about needles. So you are going to want to have embroidery needles. And so usually embroidery needles come 75s or 90s. So 75s for your lighter weight fabrics, 90s for something heavier or with lots and lots of layers, especially like in the hoop projects where there's batting and zippers and layers and linings and so forth. And by the time you're done and you get all the handles in there, there's a lot of layers. I'd do one of those larger needles. Now, what if you run out of embroidery needles? So other needles that you could use. Top stitch needles are a sharp needle. Microtex needles are sharp. Denim needles are sharp. An embroidery needle is considered a sharp needle with a taller eye. So that's why top stitch needles will work. So in a pinch, that's one way. My latest way to buy embroidery needles is in a 100-pack. So your Husqvarna Viking dealer can actually get these for you. They are the Inspira embroidery needles. And when you buy them in quantity, you will get a cheaper price per needle versus buying them in the 5-pack. So just FYI, that's how I roll through needles. You're going to want a curved embroidery scissors. A pair of scissors did come with this machine, so if that is all you have, but definitely try out some other styles and kinds. These are my favorite. They are the Kai brand, K-I-A? Yeah, K-A-I. I can't think for a second. I always have to type it out. But I love it because my thumbs are big, and that helps. The holes are big enough to accommodate my larger fingers. My husband, who is very tall, he also likes these because his hands also are larger, but he can use these no problem. A thread stand. Now this is one that you can actually purchase. that is from your local Husqvarna Viking retailer. Mega spool stand. I love these. Some type of thread stand will be optimal. So this is nice because it can actually just go right onto that vertical spool pin. Then it doesn't take up room on your table space. So I'll explain threads and why we like a thread stand as we go. So let's talk about thread a little bit. Quality embroidery thread can make such a difference. There are different qualities. If it's cheap in price, it is cheap in thread. And if you have found a great deal, it might not be a great deal. So keep that in mind. As you pay more for thread, it is a better quality. So if you are having trouble with your machine, don't blame your machine first. Let's check what thread you are using. This brand that I use a lot of is Isocord. It is a polyester thread. It is strong. It is color fast, so as things are being washed or bleached, like with chlorine or pools or such, this is going to stay the same color on the embroidered item. That is going to make a difference. Being that it's polyester, it is stronger, so as the machines are running faster, it can keep up with all of the higher speed embroidery machines. Another one we work with a lot at our store is the Robeson Anton polyester thread. Again, works with all brands of machines. We love it. It's trouble-free and it's nice. Another thing too, you will find on a lot of the spools, there is a little place where you can open and close this little lower ledge, and that's where the thread can hide. So when you're done using your thread, you can just lay the thread in there, close it up, and then you don't have to worry about it coming off. So this is nice. It fits really nice onto those thread spool holders as well. Bobbin thread, let's talk about this. So bobbin thread is usually a thinner thread than an embroidery weight. So this you can usually get twice as much thread on a bobbin than you can if you just use embroidery thread for your bobbin. Trust me. Usually you're going to see me use white or maybe black if I'm working on a black item, and you might see the back of the design, but mostly we're going to just use white. There's times where we might match our bobbin thread, and then I'm going to be winding a bobbin from the actual spool I'm matching from. So if you run out, again, you can go back to winding a bobbin with embroidery thread, but you will notice immediately how much quicker that bobbin will run out because you just can't put as much yardage on as a thin bobbin thread. So do find a bobbin thread that you like. The one we like is from Superior Threads, the bottom line. It's just nice, thin, it's lint-free, it's awesome. All right, we are down to just a little bit. Now let's talk a little bit about spray adhesives. You're gonna see me use this when I'll spray my stabilizer and stick it to the back of my fabric. And then that way when I'm hooping it, things don't move around. It's like Post-it note in a can. So 505 spray, number one I love because it doesn't have a smell, and number two, it doesn't gum up my needles. And I can't say that for other brands of spray. I have found some sprays, I'm just not going to say any names, but if you're buying it at a discount retailer and you spray it, it will gum up your needle and it will break your threads. It'll make your machine not feel like it's working right, and yet all it is the spray you've used. So keep that in mind. Don't use cheap products. We don't have time for that. So these are things that we recommend on our store. We get people off to the right, on the right foot from day one. If you like what you're hearing, just stick with it. Trust me. Then you don't have to be frustrated along your embroidery journey. So I think we've covered some of the basics. The next video that I do want to do is show you that trick for putting this foot on, and then we're going to get into all the cool things that are built into the machine of the Husqvarna Viking Designer Brilliance 80.